you're trying to understand how to make a woman miss you, the very first principle you must understand is space. Space is not about running away, ignoring, or playing cold games. It's about creating a healthy balance between presence and absence. You see, when you are constantly around someone, when you make yourself available every single moment of the day, when you answer within seconds, when you never allow a moment of silence to exist between the two of you, you may feel as though you are doing the right thing. But what you are really doing is robbing her of the natural feeling of longing. A longing only exists when there is distance. Desire only grows when there is room for it to breathe. It's like air. If you suffocate a flame, it dies. But when you give it oxygen, it expands and glows brighter. The same is true with attraction and connection. A woman can never truly miss you if she doesn't feel your absence. Think about it. She knows you'll pick up on the first ring, reply to every text within seconds, cancel your plans for her every time she wants you. Then she never has to experience the sweet anticipation of wondering about you. She never has to pause and think, I wish he were here right now. And that absence, that pause, is exactly where missing begins. Missing someone is born from the gap between presence and absence. It's created when the mind replays your energy, your laughter, your words, and craves that energy once more. But if you never step back, she never has to crave. She never gets the opportunity to feel your value in your absence. This is not about manipulation. It's about respect for yourself and for her emotions. When you cling too tightly, you communicate neediness. Neediness is not attractive because it signals that you are not whole on your own. A man who fears being alone is not a man she will chase. He is a man she feels she must carry. But a man who embraces solitude, who understands the power of stepping away, becomes magnetic. Why? Because he's telling her, I'm not here because I need you to feel me. I'm here because I choose to share myself with you. That choice carries weight. That decision carries meaning. And when you pull back sometimes, when you let her feel the silence, she learns that your presence is not to be taken for granted. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, a man calls a woman 10 times a day, checks in constantly, fills her inbox with endless notifications, and never lets her breathe. In the second, a man spends quality time with her, makes her feel special, but then disappears into his own world, his work, his goals, his passions. Which one do you think she will miss more when he's not around? The first man trains her to see him as a constant background noise, always there, predictable, unremarkable. The second man leaves an imprint because every time he's with her, she feels his presence deeply. And every time he's gone, she notices the silence. The absence becomes loud, and that silence makes her miss him. You must understand that missing someone is a psychological process. It happens when the brain connects pleasure to a presence, then struggles with the absence of that pleasure. If you don't allow the absence, her mind never does the work. She never sits there thinking, what is he doing right now? Or when will I see him again? You rob her of that experience when you are constantly there. Space is not just physical, it is emotional and mental too. Sometimes you must create mystery. Sometimes you must allow unanswered questions. You don't have to explain every detail of your day. You don't have to reveal every movement. Let her imagination fill the gaps. Because the mind always magnifies what it doesn't have. When you step back, she fills the silence with thoughts of you. And that thought cycle is the very essence of missing. But here's the deeper truth. Creating space is also about self-control. It's about mastering your own emotions instead of letting your desires run unchecked. The urge to always be there, to always text back instantly, to always show up, comes from insecurity. It comes from fear. The fear that if you don't show up constantly, she'll forget you. But in reality, the opposite is true. If you are always there, you give her nothing to miss. If you step back, if you control yourself, you give her the opportunity to feel your value in your absence. True strength lies not in chasing endlessly, but in knowing when to stand still, let her move towards you. Look at nature for proof. The sun rises and sets. It doesn't shine 24 hours a day, but when it sets, when it disappears for the night, people look forward to its return. They wake up waiting for the light again. If the sun never set, if it shone relentlessly without rest, people would stop appreciating it. They would take it for granted. You must be like that. Bright when you are present, memorable when you leave, and always anticipated when you return. And here's the final layer when you create space. It's not just about her missing you. It's about you nurturing your own identity. Space allows you to grow, to work on yourself, to build your life. The stronger, fuller, more independent you become, the more she values you. She doesn't just miss you because you're not there. She misses the man who is building, the man who is growing, the man who is elevating himself. That kind of man is impossible to ignore because every absence reminds her of the strength and energy that he brings when he's present. When you truly want to understand how to make a woman miss you, you have to realize that one of the most powerful things you can do is to build your own world. Most men make the mistake of believing that a woman misses constant attention, constant words, or constant contact. But in reality, what makes her miss you deeply is when she sees that you are a man with a life so full, so rich, and so purposeful that stepping away from it leaves a noticeable void in her heart. A woman doesn't long for a man who is always idle, waiting for her to fill his time. She longs for the man who is so consumed by his mission, his growth, and his passions that every moment she gets with him feels like a gift. That's the difference between a man who becomes ordinary and a man who becomes unforgettable. Think about the people you admire in your own life. You don't admire those who sit around doing nothing, always waiting for someone else to call the shots. You admire those who are driven, focused, and passionate about something. That passion radiates, it attracts, it leaves an impression. And when that person is not around, you think about them because their energy carried weight. The same principle applies in relationships. When you build your own world, when you immerse yourself in pursuits that matter, whether it's your career, your fitness, your craft, or your personal growth, you become magnetic. You draw her in without needing to chase. And when you're gone, she feels the absence of that powerful energy. A man who has no world of his own becomes predictable and forgettable. If the only thing you bring into her life is attention, eventually that attention loses value. She knows you'll be there. She knows you'll drop everything. She knows you have nothing else going on. And when she knows that there's no urgency, no anticipation, no longing. But if she knows you're the man who has things to handle, who has goals to chase, who has dreams in motion, then every moment with you becomes precious. She doesn't just miss your presence. She misses the fire you carry into her space, the sense of purpose that clings to you like a fragrance. Building your own world is not about shutting her out. It's about creating something so strong that she wants to be a part of it. It's about making her feel that being with you is not just being with a man. It's being with a man who is building something bigger than himself. That vision inspires her, and when you're not there, she misses the inspiration, she misses the strength, she misses the direction that comes from your energy. A woman will never truly miss a man who sits idle, but she will always miss the man who moves mountains when he's not by her side. Consider how absence works in psychology. People don't miss what they can easily replace. If you are just another man offering constant attention, you become replaceable. But when you are a man who is living with purpose, when your world is full of things that are rare, valuable, and deeply connected to who you are, you cannot be replaced. She can't just pick another man to feel the same way because your energy is tied to your individuality, your mission, your passions. That uniqueness is what makes her miss you. She's not just missing a man. She's missing you, the man who's rooted in his own world. When you build your own world, you also show her something essential. You do not depend on her for your happiness. You are not leaning on her to complete you. Instead, you are inviting her into a life that is already full, already meaningful, already fulfilling. And paradoxically, that's exactly what makes her want to be around you more. Women are drawn to strength, to independence, to the man who can stand tall on his own. When you show that strength, she realizes that your attention is not something to be taken lightly. It is a privilege. And when you step away, she feels the weight of its absence. You must also understand that the world you build doesn't have to be grand in the eyes of society. It simply has to be authentic and important to you. Maybe your world is your business, your fitness, your art, your spiritual growth, your studies, or your creativity. Whatever it is, it's yours. And when you pour yourself into it, it becomes a source of energy that makes you magnetic. She doesn't just miss your presence. She misses the way you make her feel when she steps into your world. She misses the way you inspire her to be more, the way you challenge her to think differently, the way your passions awaken her own. And here's something most men overlook: when you are too available, too idle, too dependent, you not only rob her of the chance to miss you, but you also rob yourself of the chance to grow. Building your world makes you stronger, wiser, more capable. It sharpens your edges, deepens your character, and elevates your energy. That growth is felt by everyone around you, especially her. She doesn't just miss the man she knew yesterday. She misses the man who is constantly becoming more tomorrow. That kind of longing is powerful because it's not rooted in fear of losing you. It's rooted in admiration for who you are. The truth is, women miss men who bring value into their lives. If your world has no depth, no direction, no purpose, then you give her nothing to miss. But when your world is rich, when your presence is impactful, when your absence feels like the quiet after a powerful storm, she cannot help but miss you. She replays your words. She replays your energy. She replays the feeling of being in your orbit. And that only happens when you are a man who has built a life so meaningful that your presence is unforgettable and your absence is undeniable. If you want to make a woman miss you, it is not about the number of hours you spend with her. It is about the quality of the moments you create. Most men make the mistake of believing that constant presence is the key, that if they're always there, she will always want them. But what really makes her long for you is the emotional impact you leave behind when you're together. A woman remembers how you made her feel, not how many minutes you sat beside her. If you make her feel deeply, if you leave an impression that touches her emotions, her heart will carry you with her long after you've walked away. That is the secret to creating the kind of bond that lingers in her mind and makes her miss you when you're not around. Think about the times in your own life when someone left a mark on you. It wasn't always because of how long you were with them. It was because of the emotional exchange that took place. Maybe they said something that lit a spark in you. Maybe they made you laugh so hard you couldn't forget it. Maybe they were fully present in a way that made you feel like the only person in the world. Those are the moments that stick. Those are the moments that echo in the silence after they're gone. The same principle works in relationships. A woman doesn't miss you because you were constantly texting her. She misses you because when you were with her, you made her feel alive, valued, and seen. When you master emotional impact, you go beyond surface level connection. You learn to listen in a way that shows that you truly care. You speak in a way that resonates with her soul. You share experiences that create lasting memories. It could be something as simple as the way you make her laugh when she's stressed, the way you look into her eyes when she's speaking, the way you notice the little details about her that most people overlook. These are the small actions that create big emotions. And emotions are powerful because emotions are what she remembers. Imagine two men. One spends hours with a woman but barely engages, scrolling his phone, distracted, half present. The other man spends only one evening with her, but is fully engaged, laughing with her, listening with intent, making her feel like she is the most important person in the world at that moment. Who do you think she will miss more when both men are absent? The answer is obvious. Presence without impact is forgettable, but impact even in small doses is unforgettable. Emotional impact is also about creating variety in her experience with you. If every interaction is the same, routine, predictable, dull, then she has no reason to replay it in her mind. But if you surprise her, challenge her, inspire her, and awaken new feelings in her, then she carries those moments with her everywhere she goes. She'll be at work and suddenly remember how you made her laugh. She'll be with her friends and think about how you made her feel safe. She'll lie in bed at night and recall how your words touched her. That is how missing works. It's the mind replaying emotions tied to you. This doesn't mean you need grand gestures or dramatic displays of romance. Sometimes the smallest things create the biggest impact. A handwritten note, a thoughtful question, a memory you share about something she told you weeks ago. These things show her that you are present with her, that you value her. And when you leave, she feels the absence of that presence. She realizes not everyone makes her feel that way, and that uniqueness makes her miss you. Another part of emotional impact is how you carry yourself, your energy, your confidence, your calmness in chaos. These things speak louder than words. If every time she is around you, she feels uplifted, inspired, or comforted, then when you're gone, she feels the contrast. The world feels a little duller, a little heavier, a little emptier without your energy in it. That gap is what creates longing. Missing someone is really just feeling the absence of what they bring into your life. If you bring nothing but routine and predictability, there is nothing to miss. But if you bring laughter, warmth, adventure, depth, then your absence is felt like silence after music. The mind works in patterns. It replays what made an impact. A woman will not sit there thinking about every message you sent. She will think about how you made her feel when she read them. She will not remember every minute of a conversation. She will remember the moment you made her feel understood. She will not recall every outing. She will hold on to the spark of excitement you brought into her life. Emotional impact is what lingers in her mind and pulls her thoughts back to you when you're not around. And here's something powerful. Emotional impact doesn't just happen by accident. It happens when you are intentional. When you show up with presence, when you decide that every interaction will leave her better than you found her, when you bring value into her life instead of just seeking attention, you begin to carve out a space in her emotions that only you can fill. And once you've carved that space, once she associates you with those powerful emotions, she will miss you in ways words can't fully describe. If you want a woman to miss you, you have to understand the role of masculine energy. Masculine energy is not about aggression, force, or dominance. It is about calm confidence, certainty, and direction. It is the steady hand in the storm, the grounding presence that provides balance when emotions run high. When you carry yourself with this kind of energy, you create a sense of security that lingers long after you've walked away. A woman doesn't miss chaos. She doesn't long for instability. What she misses is the calm reassurance, the steady voice, the energy of a man who knows who he is and where he is going. That energy is rare, and what is rare is always missed. Masculine energy begins with confidence, not the loud, boastful kind of confidence, but the quiet certainty of a man who trusts himself. When you believe in yourself, when you carry yourself like someone who knows his own value, you don't have to prove anything. Your presence alone communicates strength. A woman can feel that strength, and it gives her a sense of peace. When you're not around, she notices the difference. The world feels a little less stable without that presence, and that absence makes her long for it again. Direction is another part of masculine energy. A man who has no sense of direction, who drifts aimlessly, who waits for others to lead him, is not someone a woman will miss deeply. But a man with a vision, a man who sets goals and moves toward them with determination is unforgettable. She feels that when she's around him. She sees that his life has a sense of purpose, that he is not swayed by every little distraction. And when he steps away, she misses the inspiration that comes from being in the presence of someone so focused. His direction becomes something she admires. And when he is gone, she feels the gap between his steady movement and the uncertainty of the world around her. Masculine energy also shows in how you handle emotions. A woman wants to feel that you can hold space for her, that you can listen without judgment, that you can remain composed when things get heated. If you are quick to anger, quick to fall apart, or quick to lose control, she may tolerate you, but she will not deeply miss you. What she misses is the man who can remain calm when she is upset, the man who can hold her without being shaken by her storms. That kind of stability becomes addictive because it makes her feel safe in ways that most people cannot provide. There is also an element of presence in masculine energy. When you are with her, are you really there? Are you grounded, focused, listening, and attentive? Or are you distracted, restless, half committed? A man who carries true masculine energy is present in the moment. He's not fidgeting with his phone. He's not scanning the room. He's not drifting into thought. He is there fully as though nothing else matters. That presence creates an emotional anchor. When you leave, she misses that feeling of being the center of your world. She notices the absence of that depth of attention. And because so few men provide it, your absence weighs heavily on her heart. Another part of masculine energy is self-control, the ability to delay gratification, to manage impulses, to hold yourself steady when everything else is pushing you to react. That discipline is not only attractive, it is powerful. It shows her that you are not a boy who acts on every urge, but a man who chooses his actions carefully. That choice, that restraint leaves a mark on her. She misses it when you are not around because most people act without thought. While you show her what composure looks like, masculine energy does not mean you cannot be soft, loving, or vulnerable. In fact, vulnerability becomes even more impactful when it is backed by strength. A man who is grounded, confident, and directed can open up without fear because he knows his foundation is solid. That balance of strength and openness creates a rare kind of connection, and when you step away, she misses both sides, the strength that made her feel safe and the vulnerability that made her feel close. When you embody masculine energy, you also create polarity. Polarity is the natural attraction between masculine and feminine. If you lose your masculine edge by becoming passive, clingy, or indecisive, polarity fades, and with it, the desire to miss you. But when you stand firm in who you are, when you radiate certainty, confidence, and direction, the polarity intensifies. She feels drawn to you when you're there, and she feels your absence when you're gone. That pull is what creates long. A woman doesn't just miss your face or your words. She misses how she felt in your presence. She misses the calm in your voice, the certainty in your decisions, the way you carried yourself with confidence. That feeling is tied to masculine energy, and the stronger you cultivate it, the more she will feel it when you're gone. Missing someone is emotional, but it's triggered by energy. And when your energy is rooted in calm, direction, and strength, it becomes unforgettable. One of the most overlooked truths about making a woman miss you is that you cannot give endlessly without ever pulling back. Human nature values what it has to work for and notices most deeply what is not always present. If you are constantly pouring into her, constantly showing up, constantly giving attention without pause, she will come to expect it. It becomes a normal rhythm. And when something is expected, it is no longer appreciated. But when you learn the art of giving genuinely and then withdrawing strategically, you create contrast. And contrast is what makes her miss you. It's the rhythm between presence and absence, between love given and space allowed. That makes her realize just how much she values you when you are not there. At first, giving is essential. No woman will miss a man who never made her feel cared for. If your energy is cold, distant, and detached from the beginning, she has no reason to long for you. So you must give attention, kindness, presence, affection. You show her that when you are there, she feels valued. You create moments of joy. You speak words that matter. You make her feel special in ways that others do not. That is the foundation. But once that foundation is built, you cannot remain constantly present in the same way, else the appreciation fades. Imagine music without silence between the notes. Imagine a painting where every inch is filled without contrast. It becomes overwhelming, flat, and unremarkable. What gives power to the sound or to the color is the space around it. The same is true with relationships. What makes her miss you is not just what you give, but the space you create after giving. When you withdraw, it does not mean disappearing out of neglect or punishment. It means stepping back into your own life, your own purpose, your own growth. It means you are not always there to answer immediately. You are not always available to fill every moment. You are not always the source of her constant attention. Instead, you give her something valuable, and then you give her the room to feel the absence of it. That space makes her reflect. It makes her notice what you bring, and it makes her long for it again. She begins to anticipate your presence. She begins to count the moments until she hears from you again. She begins to appreciate your attention in ways she never would if it was always there. Think of it like water to a thirsty person. If someone has unlimited access to water at every moment, they stop valuing it. But if they drink deeply and then go without for a little while, the next sip tastes sweeter, more refreshing, more appreciated. The same law applies here. Constant presence dulls desire, while presence mixed with absence creates appreciation. It's not a game, it's a natural rhythm. You cannot miss something you never go without. The strategic part of this lies in timing. If you withdraw before you've given anything meaningful, she feels nothing. If you give endlessly without ever pulling back, she takes it for granted. But when you give enough to make her feel cared for and then step back into your own life and let her notice the silence, you strike the perfect balance. She thinks about the things you said, the way you made her laugh, the comfort she felt in your arms, and the absence makes those memories stronger. That absence becomes a reminder of the value you bring. There's also a deeper psychological truth here. When you withdraw strategically, you create space for her to invest. If you are always the one giving, she never gets the chance to give back. And without giving, people rarely form deep attachment. But when you step back, she feels the urge to reach out, to text you, to wonder about you, to put effort into reconnecting. That effort on her part strengthens the bond because people value most what they invest in. If you never withdraw, she never has to chase. If you always pour in, she can remain passive. But when you create that gap, she is compelled to move towards you. That movement builds a desire, and that desire is the essence of missing. This balance also protects your own energy. Men who give endlessly without stepping back often drain themselves. They lose their identity, their focus, their drive, because they are pouring constantly without replenishing. But when you withdraw, you recharge. You return to your passions, your goals, your mission. You come back fuller, stronger, more grounded. And when she sees that, it only increases her respect and her attraction. She doesn't just miss you because you're gone. She misses the man who comes back even better each time. It's important to remember that withdrawing is not about being cold or distant. It is about maintaining polarity. Feminine energy longs for masculine strength and direction, but it also longs for the dance of closeness and space. If you smother her, she resists. If you vanish without ever giving, she detaches. But when you give, then withdraw, then return, you create a rhythm that keeps desire alive. That rhythm is what keeps her heart active, what keeps her imagination engaged, what makes her long for the moments you share. Missing is born in the spaces between presence. It's born when she has time to think, to reflect, to feel the absence of what you bring. And when you master the balance of giving and withdrawing, you become unforgettable. She will find herself replaying your words, reliving your presence, waiting for the next time she can experience it again. The very act of stepping back makes her realize just how much she values when you step forward. Scarcity is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. And when it comes to making a woman miss you, nothing is more effective than understanding the value of being rare. When something is always available, it is easy to overlook. When something is constantly within reach, people tend to take it for granted. But when something is limited, when it is not guaranteed, when it cannot be accessed at every moment, the mind begins to value it more. This is the principle that governs desire. And it is no different in relationships. If you are everywhere all the time, constantly showing up, constantly available, then she never has to feel what life is like without you. But when you know how to pull back, when you know how to create scarcity with your presence, you become someone she cannot ignore. She feels your absence as strongly as she once felt your presence, and that absence makes her miss you. Scarcity does not mean withholding love or playing cruel games. It means recognizing your time, your energy, and your presence are valuable, and not everyone has access to them at all times. A man who understands his worth, does not throw himself into every moment, does not make himself available for every whim, does not sacrifice his own life to constantly be present. He knows that by guarding his energy, he increases its value. When you are scarce, your presence becomes a gift. When you are always there, your presence becomes routine. A woman will not miss routine, but she will always miss what feels special, what feels rare, what feels like it cannot be duplicated. Think about how people treat precious metals or rare works of art. Gold is valuable because it is scarce. Diamonds are desired because they are rare. Masterpieces are admired because they cannot be replicated endlessly. If these things were available on every corner, their value would vanish instantly. The same rule applies to you. If you make yourself too common, too easy, too predictable, you strip away the mystery, the anticipation, and the excitement. But when you balance your presence with moments of absence, you remind her that you are not just another man. Your presence is a rare experience. And when you are gone, she feels it deeply. Scarcity also awakens imagination. When you are not around, her mind begins to wonder. What is he doing? Who is he with? How is he spending his time? That curiosity keeps her engaged with you even in your absence. She fills the silence with thoughts of you, and those thoughts create longing. But if you are constantly updating her, constantly checking in, constantly probing your presence, there is no room for imagination. The mystery dies, and with it the desire to miss you. By stepping back, you allow her to dream about you, to anticipate you, to desire your return. This doesn't mean you should vanish completely or create artificial distance. True scarcity is natural. It comes from living a full life. When you are pursuing your goals, focused on your passions, and invested in your own growth, you naturally cannot be everywhere all the time. You are not avoiding her, but you are not always accessible either. That balance sends a powerful message. Your life has depth, your time has weight. And being with you is something to be valued. She begins to see you as someone she must make effort to connect with. And effort builds attachment. The more she invests, the more she values. And the more she values, the more she misses when you're gone. There is also an element of respect tied to scarcity. When you make yourself too available, when you abandon everything for her every request, she may appreciate it at first, but over time it chips away at respect. She knows that your world revolves around her. And while that might seem romantic in the short term, in the long term, it breeds complacency. But when she knows that you have your own priorities, your own direction, and your own limits, she respects you. And respect deepens longing. She misses not just your presence, but the man you are. The man who has boundaries, the man who has purpose, the man whose time is precious. Scarcity also fuels anticipation. When she doesn't know exactly when she'll see you again, when she can't predict every moment, she begins to look forward to it. She counts down the time, she replays your last interaction. She feels excitement build. That excitement is what makes her miss you. It's not about absence alone, it's about the anticipation of return. When she finally sees you again, the reunion feels sweeter, more intense, more meaningful, because she has been waiting, wondering, longing. And that cycle continues every time you create space. What most men don't realize is that missing is not born out of constant availability. It is born out of contrast. Without absence, presence loses meaning. Without scarcity, abundance loses value. You cannot be missed if you are never gone. You cannot be valued if you are always there without pause. By embracing scarcity, you are not pulling away out of fear. You are elevating your worth in her eyes. You are showing her that your presence is not something ordinary. It is something extraordinary. And when she feels that difference, when she notices the quiet after your departure, when she compares the energy you bring to the emptiness you leave behind, missing you becomes inevitable.